Welcome back to another episode of Duel Alliance with myself, Alicia Solomon, and Megan Hines, where every week we discuss the challenge. We are back discussing All Stars 4, episode 4, and we had a kind of royal battle going on with two of the fire heavy hitter women in the house. I'm sorry, my words are all over the place today. I don't know what's going on. But I digress. We did have a good battle though between two people that went at it in the arena. A little bit of drama, not much, but a little bit of drama, and then we got more of the toxic love story that America loves to hate. I am America, by the way.
I wasn't even gonna bring up that toxic love story for this episode because it's gonna be even more improving next week.
It's
So
just
I
like
skipped over that.
why? Okay, let's do
But
that.
okay. But in this episode, obviously, we come back in and they start off with a really great song for this episode by Eve, and that was the theme of this episode. But because the women were really carrying this whole episode, and that's gonna be my song later on. But Tina is not phased that Rachel took her star and gave it to Veronica. And then Cam is still harping on Cara not having her back. But also, she clocked that Cara and Rachel had somewhat of an agreement to not say each other's names because they both had stars. So that's really the beginning of the episode. And then we get into the daily challenge. Um, which was called Unbraided Reloaded, where they played it in 4 teams of 5, and with 2 teams competing at a time, they would be suspended off the side of a speeding truck on a rope that forms a braid, and they would have to work to unravel those ropes while navigating a peg through a maze. The fastest team that won this daily would be the winners. And then the 2 slowest teams would form the losing group. And these teams are very interesting. Some like you would think like if it was like an actual head to head, they would be really good on top, but some teams they didn't meet those expectations.
Yeah, surprisingly, some teams are a little more top heavy than others. I think when we get to one specific team with Um, I think it was Kifla, Adam, and it was a bunch of people on one team that was like very top heavy, and they were like, "Why did they put us all together?" And I'm like, "I don't know, actually. Why did they like who picked this hat of the draw? Like, I don't know why they put these teams together." But I will say the more surprising teams that were least expectant actually did something this episode, which is a good sign for me.
Yeah. And so in the first round, it was the red team that consisted of Jasmine, Tina, Avery, Brandon, and Jay. And the orange team in Cara, Veronica, Brad, Flora, and Ace. And the red team, they didn't really do as much to get started, but the orange team was also not on vibes because like Brad was just trying to throw people in different directions to try and get them like unraveled, um, and they kept getting stuck. But eventually, the red team they were also able to just communicate and figure their way around the rope and get through the maze.
Yeah, I think they had great communication. Ace did a great job of kind of being a leader. I know Ace is like more of a background person on the show, but I think in this challenge, he kind of stepped up and was able to make his voice known and kind of just be like, everyone relax and let's just figure this out because it is a situation where it's 5 or 6 people that are put together who are all doing things at one time. And you saw that with on the other side with Brad, and I feel like when Brad is on a team, it's just always a little chaotic, but he and like the rest of those personalities are all kind of trying to fight for position. And it just kept delaying them trying to get on loose.
Yeah, and the red team was actually the team to be able to split up and get through their maze first. Then it kind of made sense because like you had Jay on there, they were really kind of working together. The red team for the most part, and they got their time stop first, and then the orange team finally got theirs unraveled, and then their time stopped. It obviously took them a little bit longer, but I didn't think that they would be in the last like groups to be done.
Yeah, I mean, the finish definitely surprised me, but I think that they still had an opportunity to finish. So I think when they realized that, they kind of was trying to like keep it going because they didn't know whether their time was stopped or whether they keep going. So once they realized like everyone's time is individual and you all have to finish, then they kind of rushed into finishing off the puzzle.
Yeah, and then in the second round, it was a pink team versus green. Pink consisted of Cam, Derek, Laurel, Ryan, and Steve. The green team was Leroy, Nicole, Rachel, Keitha, and Adam. And the green team was a hot ass mess. Rachel even said like Adam was moving like a bull in a china shop. They don't really have nothing going on as communicative as it could be. But the pink team really took charge with Laurel and Cam being the voices for the team and communicating really well with one another.
Yeah, I think those two are automatically like leaders off the back. And so, especially with Laurel, her type A personality, if she's in a group, she's going to be the first person speaking, trying to get everyone in order. So I think that that was not a surprise how they worked together and finished. The other side, which I was mentioning earlier, with Keitha and Leroy and Rachel, it was just a mess of people. Like they didn't know what was happening, and it was surprising because they're all strong people. Like they all could have easily figured it out and gotten themselves together, but they were not on one accord, and that ended up costing them in the end.
Yep. And but not surprisingly, the pink team was the fastest team of all four groups, and they are winners for this daily. And the red team became the middle group, and the two losing teams were green and orange. And the red team has to pick between Rachel, Nicole, Cara, Veronica, and Flora, of two women to go into elimination. And this was very interesting because Tina is on the red team, and she, we know, cannot do politics very well, and it really showed this episode. Um, she had a weird decision to make, but she didn't have to make that decision that she did make.
Yeah, I mean, I again, the real OG3. I don't know where their minds are at in this game. Like I said, Veronica be just she be on her own vibe. She's just there. Rachel is more serious in terms of how her fitness is and where her endurance is in terms of actually playing the game. And then there's Tina, who's half joking, half serious. So that combination really doesn't work well when you're in a situation now that you have to politic amongst your people. And Tina is a 0 to 100 person, and there's no in between the 0 to 100, which is the problem with her communicating with other people that she's really not as close to.
Yeah, so she's in a pickle. Um, her, Jasmine, and Jay had a conversation briefly about what they wanted to do, and Jasmine said she wanted Rachel and Veronica, and Tina was like, "That's an immediate no." Um, and she threw out in that conversation that she thinks that Jazz being manipulated. For what? Like that's when I'm like, that doesn't make sense because getting rid of like two people that are not rocking with you who would say your name is a little brainer. Like she didn't want to say Car's name initially. That was her initial thought until later on. But her saying, "Oh yeah, I want Veronica and Rachel," and he was like, "No, I get it." But somebody who had to get chosen either way, and that was gonna be it.
For sure. I think, I mean, I actually did like Jasmine's original plan of Rachel and Veronica just because those three, if continuing on, would be the hardest to get out and move. Like, yeah, they don't have the numbers per se, but I feel like because they had Rachel backing them and she was a really strong player, you saw how easy it was for Veronica to get a star, and she hasn't done anything this whole season yet. Tina had a star, but obviously, stars will be taking back and forth this whole season, so that's not really an issue for Tina. But I do think that the three of them together, they'll be like the three old wives just concocting schemes for the rest of the season if Jasmine didn't try to get them out. So I do actually did like that initial plan just because they both have stars. Veronica's an easy target, get her out. It's whatever.
Yeah. But then once Jasmine and Avery had a conversation of Laurel and Cam, that's when the direction kind of shifted to going after the strong women in Cara and Rachel, who both had stars, and having that as a big shot taking this early. Granted, it is kind of early, but still, again, like you don't want to still be in a game with like strong people later on. Get them out early so that you have a better path. And Cam is right to try and like say, hey, try this instead, and it worked out.
I mean, Cam had her own motives on why she wanted Cara out to begin with, just off of last week and her not siding with her. I do think that getting strong people out is a smarter way to go. We've always seen how seasons have gone prior where people are kept just because the stronger players are the most popular or the most like or have the most alliances, that they're being kept, and then people wonder, how does this person get to the end? How do we keep seeing CT winning? How do we keep getting this person, blah blah blah? It's because people like them. And the problem is that people don't want to make moves too early. So in this situation where I feel like a lot of the players are a little bit more mature and calculated in how they move, they're like, listen, let's just get these people out now so that we don't have to worry about them on the back end. And especially someone like Jasmine, who Cara can easily smoke in anything. Rachel easily can smoke in anything. That's not someone that you want to have down the line. And obviously, like I said, Cam had her own motives, but I didn't mind the plan at all because it is what it is. Like, this is what we're here. We're trying to win the game.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's only one person winning. It's so if I get a strong person now, and it's still like as mid card people still in the game, it works for me because I can like see who's around me that is not that big of a strong player. Like, hey, I can run with this person and see how I measure up. Granted, you still have Laurel in the game where she's not as much of a threat right now, but it's still like, okay, get at least out the people who have stars who are strong early so that other people can get stars and we can work with whatever comes next. After that, there was like an impromptu red team meeting before they actually did deliberations, and Avery and Jade were contemplating on saying Kara's name. They were very hesitant to do so initially, but Brandon was like, I don't think I have that much of an issue. Granted, me and Kara are friends. It's not personal. It's just game. I don't want to see her in the final. I'd rather her out early. I'll deal with whatever else happens later. But at this point, I think I'll say Kara's name because it's not that serious.
I get it. I mean, I understand what Brandon was saying. However, I feel like he was a little shady going after the fact, because once we get to the arena, what he said to Carr, it kind of just like rubbed me the wrong way. But initially, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you want the stronger people out. Like, I don't mind saying her name. And he's also said that that was something that he's made a mistake in past seasons, is that he doesn't say people's names, or he, kind of plays a little bit timid. And Brandon is always known to get out early. He's not one to be a final king. So he already knows how this goes. So he's come back with a little bit of strategy, which I can appreciate. I do think that at some point you would probably want Cara on your side, just because yes, it's an individual challenge, but there's gonna be partners at some point. I'm sure he does not want to get stuck with a Jasmine or an Avery over a Cara Maria. Like, it is what it is on that point. Like, yes, she can probably beat you one on one, but you're gonna have to have a certain point where you're gonna need partners. And so I think that he was just like so quick and easy to dismiss a number that he's already had built in for whatever alliance that him, Cam, and Leroy and Jasmine have set up, because it seems like they have something going on. It's just not being like presented. But I didn't mind it. But then like what he said later on is kind of like, all right, you being a little shady.
Yeah, I wrote that part down too. We'll get to it. And then Ace and Ryan said, "Hey, they are gonna flip on you, Cara. So you've been warned." And lo and behold, when they get into the dominations, it was mostly easy for everybody to pick who was going to be in. Brandon started off the vote with locking in Cara and Rachel as his picks. Avery voted for Veronica and Cara. Jay put in Rachel and Flora because he said, I'm not voting in Nicole, I'm not voting in Cara. Um, Jasmine voted for Rachel and Cara. But before Jasmine even like did her vote, she was like, Tina, you wanna go first? Like Tina was like, nah, I'm good. And they're like, I people trying to do, but it ain't gonna work. Um, and she also made a point that she's been a casualty within like other people's games, and it's hurt her. She's gone out early, and she's like, I'm gonna basically fit the script and do that to them because it's always been done to me, and that this decision is not personal; it's just game.
I mean, I 100% hear Jasmine because that's something, like I said, she's been known to be part of someone's ploy and plan to be used, and then all of a sudden she's dismissed, and it just is what it is at this point because she really can't do anything about it. But I think when people have the opportunity to play these games a lot and they understand what's going on in terms of like the behind the scenes and how people get out, you got to make a move while you have the upper hand. And Jasmine knew she had the numbers, she had it on her side. That was just is what it is. And then Tina couldn't really do anything about it. Like, I don't know if she really tried, or she just really was stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Like, she couldn't really do anything because the numbers weren't going to change. But I think Tina's vote was just like, I'm just gonna add on to it. You could have just burned your vote. Like, it it really didn't. You didn't necessarily have to say Rachel and Cara, and especially Rachel's name. Even if you wanted to say Cara's name, cool. But I feel like when we get back into the house, we get the consensus that it's Rachel and Cara. And Rachel was like, "So who said, like, what did she? What did Tina say?" And when Jasmine told her that she said her name, it was kind of like, "Ooh, that's interesting," because it literally was already decided. So I think that's moving forward. Like, that's something just like, all right, I don't know what's the underlying issue with that. Like, I don't know if there's something else that we're not getting because we seen Rachel take Tina Star. We never really got an explanation about that. It was just some kind of blase explanation that really didn't make any sense. Now we see, Tina trying to fight for the two people, but ultimately just folding. So what is that? I don't really know.
Well, we know Tina's not a political player, so she doesn't have that wherewithal to try and push anybody. Plus, since it was already a majority, like I said, she could have burned her vote. She could have did Flora. She could have did Nicole. If you wanted to just say Cara, you could say Cara. A mix of those three names would have been fine. But now you have Rachel being mad at you because you said her name. That's one person and one or two people that you're only aligned with, and you decide, I'm just gonna go with the flow and say Rachel. You could not have to say that. And now you're sitting there, emotional, laying in your bed. That's your fault. You could have just said, "Hey, I'm gonna just say someone else's name." Didn't have to necessarily go with everybody else because the vote was basically already locked. To be honest, because without Tina's vote, Cara would have still been in. If she didn't vote for Rachel, no, Rachel would have still been in because of the vote. So it
It was
didn't
already
matter.
3-3. It did not matter. That's what I'm saying. Like, it it had no movement, no nothing. So while you adding on top of that, just makes no sense.
So we'll see how that relationship goes, how it ends up in a certain season coming up. But Cara was also very pissy about the decision. She's like, "Well, y'all put us in, y'all gonna get a show." And she ended up crying to Brian about it. I'm like, you don't need to cry about it because you can take it as a compliment. Both of y'all got stars at this point. Both of y'all are the strongest women in the house that have stars. Y'all are competitors. Take it on the chin, let it go. Granted, yes, you have Jasmine and Brandon who both said your names without any hesitation. I get that part. But you gotta let it be.
I mean, we know Cara to be emotional, so I'm not surprised that she still is emotional, even after her coming back and her hiatus of her trying to be a badass. Like, she is still gonna have those character flaws that she always had. Not saying that it's bad to be emotional, but that's just who she is. So, I mean, her crying is no surprise. I just think that her saying that Brandon was her number one, I was a little surprised from that, just because I never got that vibe. Like I knew that they were cool. I knew that they did prior seasons. I know that she's always never like really said his name, and nothing's really ever come up between the two of them in terms of having contention. So, but her saying he was her number one was kind of like, is he your number one though? Like, do he think that about you? Because I feel like he is leaning towards Cam, Leroy, and Jasmine. So where do you fit in all of this? I don't really know. Like, it's just very one sided to me.
Yeah, because I was confused by that, but I'm like, I get, because like that's someone that she, aside from like I guess Cam, that she's kind of close with on a guy's side, that's one person I think that she's more closer with in her sense, that she's like, oh, I'm not gonna say his name, I'm gonna help him however I can. But I'm like, cool, but that confused me still. Either way, but her and Jasmine's like, "Oh, I felt feelings for you." Basically, I'm like, you didn't have to do that. Jasmine, it was gonna be what it is for her. But anyways, we get to the arena, and Rachel and Cara come out, and they share their thoughts on how or why they got into the arena. And this is when Brandon said what he said. I ain't talked to you in 8 years. And not gonna lie, I was like, that's that. I laughed because I'm like, hey, you can be mad at me, but we cool, but we ain't close.
Yeah, again, because he made it seem like, oh, me and Carl, like he posted on social media like pictures of him and Carl hanging out and whatever, and that may be the case because you got too close after you done the show, but like he kind of just made it was just like I don't know you, sis. Like I haven't spoken to you in 8 years. I don't really know you from nowhere. Like you, alright, but all right, like what else? It ain't nothing else. So I kind of feel like that's a little shady given the fact that Cara was sticking her neck out and being like, this is my number one. That's why I was kind of like, girl, where'd you get that from? Because did you let him know that? Like, did y'all have kind of just a consensus? Like, I know you said you wouldn't say his name, but like, did he know that? Because in that situation right there, he listen, she was trying to drive the truck. He got in the driver's seat and then just ran her ass straight over. He was like, girl, I don't know you from nowhere, essentially. And that's kind of embarrassing because you sticking your neck out saying that and trying to, you know, make a ploy like, Jasmine, I was cool with you. I was cool with you. And they're like, bitch, we don't know you. Like, back up. It's kind of like, whoa. Like, hold on. What you mean? Like, and especially with Jasmine, too, like, she's been in a lot of situations with Jasmine over the seasons that they've done together where she's been cool with Jasmine. So I get Jasmine's point though. Like Jasmine was not moving off of her point of being like, girl, cool, but she's like, I got two kids at home. I got things going on. I don't got time to be worried about you. Like, let's figure that out now. And I get that. But that was a little weird. And then Carr went to this whole speech, and I was like, oh, this is really not necessary, Carr. Like, we can kind of just, you know what I'm
Wrap
saying?
it up.
Wrap it up.
And then Rachel just took it on the chin. She was like, I appreciate it. I take it as a compliment. I'm just here to collect some stars. And I'm like, I feel you, because you already have a star. You could grab it, give it to somebody else. I'm here. I'm here to represent and compete, because we haven't seen Rachel on the show in a very long time. So her being nation again, hey, she's gonna represent. So props to her for even like taking on a chance. Like, you have to be like humble about it, even this early, when you put in two big women competitors in this early. Like, y'all good, y'all chilling, it's okay. But they played a game called Star Slice, and this was basically a carnival game. Not gonna hold you, it really was. Like, you just throwing dart stars at the targets, but it was just funny how they were just missing. But basically, in this game, they had to throw stars at their opponent's photo 3 times. And if the star landed on their own face, it counted for their opponent. And then there's like other little advantages or disadvantages that they would have to do it if they hit their star on those different markers. And the first person to hit their target 3 times won and stayed in the game. And Cam and Loyal did pass on doing the submission because they're chilling. They were like, I'm not doing it. And to start,
Yeah.
it was just the way that Cara drew that started initially. I had to laugh because she really missed it. Because Rachel hit the side of the board, Cara went and didn't even hit the board, and I was like, "This is gonna be a long elimination."
Yeah, that was, I mean, I don't know if it was surprising or it was just like, it was just so off the wall. Like literally it flew behind the whole wall that they had set up there. And I was like, is any crew behind there? Like what is she doing with that? Like it's kind of just like, hold on. Like let's kind of get a grip on this because those things are sharp. Like I know you said it's like carnival games, but them things is weapons at the end of the day. I don't if them things hit you the way that it's ridged all on all sides of it, like it's a little dangerous. So I mean, once she started throwing it, I was like, all right, girl, like let's hope there's nobody, behind the situation. And then her and Rachel basically started going back and forth on who can miss the most. And it was like, man, this is kind of really gonna be like a long game. And I was really kind of disappointed at the elimination itself because I'm just like, it's Rachel and Cara. Like, I want to see them go at it physically. I want them to go head to head on some shit where it's just like, yo, they really duked it out. This is really just luck and you know chance. Like it's really nothing of endurance or skill or something that makes you like, okay, this is the skill set that you need to do this. Like it's just like, all right, may the
It
best
is what
person
it
win.
is. Yeah, but it was funny. At one point, Keithla was like, "This is like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, like just going at it," and I had to laugh. Like, listen, it really was.
It really was, even though Stevie could see, but it definitely gave like these these blind people are just yeah.
I was like, "This is horrible," and like Rachel was not catching nothing until Cara accidentally hit her own photo and gave Rachel a point, and then Rachel finally hit Cara's. It ended up being even at one point, but they were still just not getting the targets right. Whether it was flying on the side of the board, way over the board, both of them threw them over the board. I'm like, ladies, please, just look at the board and concentrate. Y'all just throwing it off willy nilly. Like I can't. But eventually, Cara took it seriously and lined up her target because Rachel's last photo was like bottom left. She saw it, threw it, and she's coming back in the game and she won the nation.
Yeah, I mean, sad that Rachel is out so early just because I wanted to see her compete after it being so long of her being out of the game and, her being one of the stronger players. I would have liked to see her get farther, especially with the two other people that she left in the house. Like, one of them could have actually left and we could have had Rachel a little bit longer just to see her gameplay and to give a little bit more competition. But I understand the game is the game. So, sad that Rachel is going home, but she got a family. Go see them, girl. Bye. We got Cara now, who's calling herself Stara Maria. I don't really like that. Estrella. Like, it's not really. What is that? It's not really like. It's kind of catchy, but it's really like lame. I don't really like that. But she did have the opportunity to get a star and to give it to somebody else. And so she's kind of like, should I give it to Floral? Floral, what you doing? Like she's making a whole scene out of this whole thing. This was blowing my with Cara. Like Cara knew the cameras were on. She knew the cameras are on and rolling, and she just was like, okay, what's my cue? Laurel, what's up with you? What do you want to do? Da 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 da. Blah, blah, blah. She's just trying to be funny, and it's just like, girl, again, wrap this shit up. TJ asked you one question. Who are you giving your star to? That's it. That's all we want to know. She gave it to Jasmine though, which am I surprised? Yes, a little bit because that's just random, but I understand the method behind the madness of now you're a target, and because you wanted to call me out, now somebody's gonna have the ability to call you out, and somebody's gonna do it quicker than Cara because Jasmine could be an easier target for any of the other women who are stronger in the house, quote unquote, that wants to get a star.
Yeah, that was my sentiment exactly with like that decision. I'm like, okay, well, you gonna have a target on your back now. It's not it's a target, but not a target because nobody's touching Veronica, and she has a star, which is funny to me. So it's like you can be a strong player and not have a star. You can be a mid player and have a star and not get touched. So I don't think we're gonna try and touch Jasmine until the time is right. If other circumstances happen, I could see it. If not, then it is what it is. She's just gonna have a star because Veronica didn't get touched either. So it depends on what happens to the point where Jasmine gets star or not taken. So now our star holders are Veronica, Steve, Jasmine, Keithla, Cora, Cara, and Adam. And this is a decent group. This is going to change a bit. I feel like Steve's going to get his star taken soon because he's just there.
For sure. He's probably at the top of that list of getting it sold, and then it's obviously Veronica or Jasmine. I just think that people aren't trying to get it so soon because they know they can probably take it at any time. Like Veronica's really an easy target, so she can hold on and feel safe while she wants to until it comes a time where people are really going to want to have to start taking stars.
Yep. And that is the wrap on the episode. The next week is going to be funny because we do get more of the toxic relationship that I omitted from this episode because I ain't got time to talk about them because there's only one little part that they had, and I'm like, y'all got it. We'll get to the actual juice of what happens between them most likely next episode.
Not as facts. It wasn't nothing to talk about anyway.
So yeah, but in All Stars fashion, we do have the music segment, which I alluded to earlier in the episode with the song that was playing. It was "Who's That Girl" by Eve. That's my pick for this episode because the women they carried this episode. They carried this episode the whole time, and I was like, they're the girls, and they showing out.
Very good song. I chose the Spice Girls song, "Spice Up Your Life." One of my favorite songs. I used to watch that VHS tape of that movie. I think 800 million quadrillion times. Like, and so I just saw a photo of them at Pasha's 50th birthday, maybe a couple of days ago or last week sometime. So when I heard the song, I was like, oh, love it. Memories, good times. 1998 was such a great year for me. But yeah, that was my pick for this week.
Awesome. I know the song that so the Eve was like my girl, so that was it. Aside from that, that was really this episode.
Yeah, I ain't picking nobody from Philly right now. It's Philly until it's Philly. And Joel and B, that includes you too. Anyway, nah. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week to discuss more of All Stars season 4. You can check us out on Twitter if you like at Lines Pod. You can check out Megan's page at Megan and Hines. You can check out my page at Ace_S5. And you can watch this on YouTube if you're listening at Lines Podcast. You can check out our shorts. You can check out whatever. Like, comment, subscribe, get the algorithms rhythming. And we'll be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. Bye, guys.
See y'all.